Well, hello. It's Odin here. Drawing. Always. Always, always. Always drawing. So I'm working on something that's just not an actual story. It's been a series of sequential art, just making up shit. There's no actual story. But just to get used to storytelling and shit like that. So, yeah, that's what I'm doing. I just got done watching football, Monday Night Football, and found out that I moved to number one in my fantasy football league, which is always good, especially in this league where I've never won the championship, and I've been doing this league, a money league for I don't know, since like 2003. So a long fucking time, and I've never won. It's freak fantasy football, a bunch of cool people, a lot of craziness, and I hope I win. So, but I moved to number one, which is great. So anyway, last video was a memorial to my friend, and so it's been a weird week with him being gone and just dealing with that, not just emotionally, but um, the impacts at my work are interesting too. So we're dealing with that, still keeping his family in my prayers because they're awesome people, and but I wanted to get back to something a little like more lighthearted, not so serious, But life is serious, but it's also filled with, you know, jovial, lighthearted moments. Um, like the little things in life, like the return of eggnog. And I fear I'm getting much bigger now with the return of eggnog. So it's been out at the store I shop at for several weeks now, and I've just been drinking it like crazy. And I've noticed I am getting bigger, and there's also less activity in the winter. I'm doing less outside. I'm not going on hikes. I'm not working in my yard. I'm just been drawing a lot, which is great. But you just kind of huddle in the winter a lot of times. So, you know, had some snow, so I was able to get a workout shoveling. But I gotta keep up on my push-ups and lifting weights and things to try to you know, get some activity. But I always liked actually hiking and being outside. So, um, but yeah, as I'm starting this journey of drawing again, I haven't really explained that I haven't really been drawing for the past 10 plus years. I put it on the shelf as I focused more on music and being a singer, and that was something fun, and I enjoyed it. But all my creative pursuits were in that pursuit, just music, and so I just really put drawing on the shelf. I mean, I still drew, but not like nothing but doodles, you know, just randomly. So now I'm trying to take it serious. I'm trying to refine skills, learn more about um, just the overall dynamics, not actually drawing dynamics, but overall dynamics of comic book art and storytelling, and just sharpening up so that I can be better and feel that I can get to a point where I feel ready to create something. Also, once I feel comfortable with the art, I have to get writing down, so maybe I'll do that too. Or maybe draw something for someone else's writing. I don't know. I don't know yet, but I got to get myself to a point where I feel capable enough, and I don't know when that'll be. So, um, but I've been making strides. I finally started taking it serious again, and it's been fun. And with that, I started. So I reinvigorated my Twitter page, which was my old band Twitter, which I ran, and so it was more or less a personal page. But the band's been broken up and hasn't done anything for many years now, and all the work I put into it, all the followers and people that I took time to engage with, I feel that that work was mine, and I'm gonna keep it. So I just switched it over to my personal, and I don't know if that breaks any weird ethics codes, but you know, it's I put in all the effort on our Twitter page, so I feel that's all me, and I get to, you know, utilize it that way. And then my Instagram, all of it's just gonna become about drawing, and then I'll just keep a Facebook personal page for myself. And then I had a Facebook page that was for me as a singer, Odin on Facebook. And when I quit the band, I just walked away. And so I started a whole new Facebook page, and I went, these are all just fans. I'm going to start one that's true family and real friends. And the biggest reason was because when I went through a divorce, I got tons of messages from random girls wanting to be there for me. And at the time, you know, it sounds nice, but at the time of going through the divorce, it was the last thing I wanted. I wanted everyone to leave me alone. And, you know, it kind of became hard to separate personal from persona. So that's why I did it. But when I quit the band, I imagine that a lot of people felt betrayed, sort of, because I ignored every message. I didn't go to that Facebook page for years, you know, and I just ignored everybody. I walked away. I didn't look back. Sure, there was rumors about what I was doing, but I just went, I'm out of the music scene. I'm done with it. It's not what I want to do anymore. See ya. Have a good life. And so the whole scene, you know, I don't want to feel like I've turned my back on it, but really that's kind of what I did. And, you know, a lot of the friendships that I created there, the real close ones I kept, obviously, but a lot of the kind of pseudo ones and fans, you know, I just disappeared. I just didn't want to deal with it. And the biggest part was I was going through a divorce, which is it's a personal hell. It's a really hard thing. And I just, when I go through shit, I turtle up. I just disappear. And that's what I did. But I'm thinking about reinvigorating that, which would be a much bigger step. And telling everybody what I'm doing now with art. Because again, I worked hard to foster a lot of relationships for music, and they became fairly personal. Again, that was to the detriment, and I didn't like it in the end. But I think that, you know, if I do start a project, a comic book project, you know, there would be a lot of those people that would support it, and I don't want to lose that because of the time and investment that was put into music as I transfer to another creative pursuit. But yeah, the band was an amazing time in my life, but it was also a big part of I don't want to say it that way. I will say this. Yes, it was a great part of my life. It was very important for me. But I knew when I closed that door that I was done. I didn't want to play music anymore. I didn't want to pursue success in music, which at the time when I was in the band, that was my virtually primary pursuit, and I lost focus of a lot of things that should have been more primary pursuits. So now this is a pursuit, but it's not something that I can that I will lose myself the way I did with music. Music required being on the road. Music required so much investments of time and energy that should have been spent elsewhere, and I wish I'd done a better job of um, keeping it in check. But it got away from me, and I got lost in it to the point to where then I resented it and didn't want any part of it. So that's what happened. But right now, pursuing comic books, and it's been fun, and I've enjoyed seeing lots of comic book artists that I grew up reading and seeing their artwork, seeing them out in social media and on YouTube. So a lot of them, especially um, after the virus hit, it seemed like everybody had a YouTube channel and they were really pumping out material, and it was hard to like follow them all. They were all great channels, but I will say the one that got me the first, or the first channel that really engaged me and got me, was Richard Friend. He was an inker at the time. He's doing more. He's going to be penciling his own project, Blaster Kid, which I'm really excited for. My daughter's really excited for. She's super pumped for this. She's sure it's going to be her favorite character. So, um, but I stumbled upon his to like refine inks and just watch a master inker and kind of get the inspiration from it. And he was a very, just a nice guy, a very engaging personality on his, and it was subtle. It wasn't like he was over the top or, used car salesman with like crazy get up. There's a lot of guys on their YouTube channels are like that. They're wearing costumes, they're doing everything to entertain you. But I liked Richard Friends because it wasn't particularly entertaining in that way. It was just sincere. He was a cool guy. And then a lot of the artwork he was inking was incredible. His ink work was incredible, and yeah, that was the first one. And then when I found out he was doing his own comic, I got pretty excited. But that started a little journey of just like finding lots of YouTube channels of different artists and writers, and finding out about all these crowdfunded campaigns and seeing if that's the wave of the future, which got me excited about the potential of doing art and writing and creating and making comics. Because even if it was a possibility to get to where I could work for a big name, I don't know that I ever would want to anyway. And I don't know that I would ever get to the level where that would be acceptable. But I don't think I would want to anyway, because I would much rather work on something new and fresh. It's fun to draw the characters from back in the day, but it's not something I would want to do regularly. So, because I was inspired by comic books by the Image movement. So when I got into comics, there was two phases. There was kind of like a 10-year-old phase where I kind of got into comics, and then it faded off. And then there was about a 12, 13, 14-year-old phase where I got really into comics, and that was right at the start, right before Image broke. So it was Rob Liefeld was doing New Mutants, and then X-Force #1 came out. Sold like trillions of copies. But just before that, Jim Lee was working on X-Men, and X-Men #1 came out. Sold trillions of copies. They were just insane. And then the artists, and Todd McFarlane on Spider-Man, the artists were becoming superstars. Wizard magazine was out, and I was reading it like I was reading the heavy metal magazines I was reading at the time too. So my walls were comic book art that I had loved and heavy metal artists that I loved. That's what I put up as posters. Those were my rock stars, and Wizard was pumping that up. They were making rock stars out of these comic book artists. And I just drew as a kid, so that was my thing. I was like, fuck, I could do that. And so those were my two pursuits, and they ended up as an adult being my two creative pursuits: music, heavy metal music, and comic book art. So we did the one, and I had I believe, a good chance of success if I wanted to, but it got too much, and I realized that's not what I want to do. And so we'll try this one now, see if it's what I want to do, see if I have the chops per se. I know I had the chops in music. I knew I could have done it. Uh, but a lot of that is the cards have to fall just right. Whereas now in this age, and I was trying to tell my band that it was true, but in this age, it's your own blood, sweat, and tears. Like, you don't need a record label. You don't need uh, a big publishing comic book. You can create your own, publish it yourself. You know, so that's been the model. It's been shown to be successful. I remember seeing Brian Pulido do that um, years ago when they kind of went that direction. But I remember picking up his Chaos comics of Evil Dead and Lady Death, and I would love that shit. And they had the cool chromium cover. I mean, and the artwork was great, and Lady Death was hot as fuck, and Evil Ernie was cool as fuck. It was like, this is my kind of shit. So, but he's been kind of a pioneer in that sense. But what Image did was open the door to all kinds of, all kinds of. It was kind of like in the '90s. That's what the thing was independent, and it spawned like people like me, people like my generation, really, that are very DIY and very much not so much into the bigger things, but wanting to find the cool thing first, the cool underground thing. That's just the way we were raised, because music was doing that. Like I said, Image was a big thing, but Image could have been basically like the Seattle scene. You know, it's like it just opened the door to a whole lot of underground stuff that wasn't known, but everybody was digging it up because there was this one landmark underground that got to the top. And so, yeah. So anyway, all those models, if I was still doing music, again, it's kind of a young man's game, so I didn't. I got to a certain age. Besides that, I just didn't have the passion for it. I'd probably still be doing it, even though it's a young man's game, if I had the passion for it, but I don't. But yeah, that's the model we have to go for. So now it's just a big question of when will I feel ready? When will I have an idea that I feel I could go 100% full bore on? Because as it stands, I've just been refining my chops with random drawings, trying to work on a little storytelling, etc. So we'll see where this all takes us. Anyway, cheers to everyone. I'm drinking Dragon's Breath. Bayern is I think they're a Montana brewery. But me and my buddy Bond would get this at this German restaurant, and they'd serve it in these tall glasses. And every once in a while I buy this stuff. It's really good. With that said, just a bunch of random ruminating as per usual. Drawing, I didn't draw. Like I said, this setup is a pain in the ass. And so it's basically like the camera's just there while I talk. And this is what I'm working on right now. And yeah, we'll keep drawing. We'll keep pushing. And hopefully something comes along and becomes a big spark. And I get excited for it, you know, because I'm a 9-to-5er. I love my career. But the 12-year-old me, if they ever thought I could make any kind of successful, you know, national, international audience, wouldn't have to be huge, but any kind of big comic book would, in that sense, as far as selling worldwide, would be overexcited with joy. Just like the 16-year-old me would be pretty excited that I was in a signed semi-touring band that was relatively successful, but he would see me on stage and think that was pretty cool. And I hope the 12-year-old me can see the comic projects that are going to come and think it's pretty cool and successful. And I think that's probably one of the coolest things we can do is just make the young versions of ourselves think the old versions of ourselves are pretty cool. I know the young versions of myself would see my daughters and think my kids are cool as shit. So I'm very proud of them. But anyway, that's all I got to say for now. Y'all take care. This is Odin. Have a great night.